wonderful love of aloha! So that's hello, goodbye, and hello again. So it's so nice to see all of you again in this wonderful symposium. Welcome to the Saturday Symposiums presented by B.G. Reynolds, available here. And for those, our friends not at TikiCon, streaming at the B.G. Reynolds Facebook group. We have the deep dive with Trader Brandon coming up first. But now a brief message from Jason T. Smith.
Hello, everybody. If you are coming to my symposium at 1 o'clock, there will be a test, and I'm not kidding. So bring a writing utensil, and there will be prizes. Yes. So yeah, I see the look on your face. So bring a crayon, bring a pen, bring whatever. But 1 o'clock, we're going to start with a little Do You Know Tiki quiz. And thank you. Goodbye. See you at 1 o'clock.
I've heard of this tiki thing. Could you? Everybody here has heard of tiki, right? Okay. Well, with no further ado, Trader Brandon.
All right, let's get started. Keep an eye on the time. Yes. I don't want to run into the next presentation, which is mine as well. Yeah, take your pick. All right. How many people were here at last year's TikiCon? How many people saw my talk last year at TikiCon? All right. So last year's was kind of an overview of Trader Sam's East and West Coast. This year I dove in and chose some specific props. A lot of people ask me what's your favorite prop in there, and it's darn near impossible to answer that question. But I tried, kind of. So we're going to go into some specific stuff that we have on the walls, and then I took some Instagram requests, so we have some of those pieces in here that people have wrote in and wanted to know more about, so we'll deep dive right in. Most of the photos you will see today are from the fine people at the Enchanted Tiki Bar Instagram page, so if you do not follow them, you should follow them. There's my public service announcement. All right, just a real quick recap. Most of Trader Sam's would not be possible without three people: Walt, Mark Davis, and Harper Goff. Everybody knows who they are, correct? Three people. Everybody should know this. At the rate we're going, yeah, there is going to be a test. Dear God. All right. Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar is, what, 7 years old now? I have a 7-year-old and a 3-year-old, I like to say. This was our first attempt, and we didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know if anybody was going to show up. When we opened the doors, there were 4 people outside waiting to get in. When we opened Orlando's, there were about 400 people outside, and about 50 of them got in and stayed the entire night. So we're okay. But Anaheim went very heavy into the 1930s. Can we kill these front lights a little more? Just kill all the lights. Pitch black. Kill them all. Keith, you have one. I don't know. This is more important. If you'd like to see my pretty face, please come to the book signing at 2 o'clock. Otherwise, we're going to look at pretty pictures. So Sam's in Anaheim, for those of you who have been, is very 1930s, 1940s Adventureland heavy. And we'll just kind of dive in. There's 1,600 individual items in the Enchanted Tiki Bar. Each one of those I located and bought with my own bare hands, so I could tell you a story behind every single item in there. We're not going to talk about 1,600 individual items, but I picked some pretty cool ones, I think. Our tiki totems are from the Enchanted Tiki Room. Those I had Kevin and Jody come in and paint them to the original 60s color palette. Our tiki totems are the only 3-sided tiki totems in the world. Oh, I don't know why we did that, but probably for size. But I like to say that the 4th side that would have been aiming the bartenders is just all the tiki's butts. And in a 12-hour shift, you really don't want to look at a bunch of little tiki butts all day. We dove into Adventureland very heavily. You'll find Indiana Jones stuff, Adventurers Club. The 4 nautical flags above the door right there are actually numerical flags, which was my office extension. Don't call it now, because I don't know whose office it is now. But you just call and say, we were at this thing. The Trader Sam's house rules we always thought would be a very fun thing to do. and is very silly. Blow darts are not to be used as drinking straws. Even though with the ban on straws now, we might have to correct that one. Cannibals may not serve people. Do not provide alcohol to on-duty Jungle Cruise skippers. No exceptions. My favorite. Call the bartender if Schweitzer falls. That's quality stuff right there. No poison dart games. Management is not responsible. Blank, 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 blank under any circumstances. Number 3, I'll tell a little secret about that one. Number 3, I had written a rule for number 3, and as I was writing everything on this board, I screwed up. And I went, oh, crap. Well, okay, I'll scratch it out. And then I just scratched out the whole entire row. Like, I think I misspelled alligator or something. And I just scratched it all out, and I went, you know what? I'm just going to leave it. And to this day, it drives people insane. It drives them nuts that they don't know what rule number 3 is. And they will ask the bartenders, they will ask me. That drives people crazy. The bulletin board at the Enchanted Tiki Bar is pretty cool. We have a lot of things in there. Being the fact that it's behind glass, I was able to put in some actual artifacts from history. The newspaper up in the top left is actually a copy, I think, of maybe New York Times or one of those that talks about Amelia Earhart doing her flight. So that's an actual from the period. The newspaper on the right is the newspaper that they hold up in 20,000 Leagues that talks about the sea monsters taking down the ships. Monsters exist, says French scientists, in warning to the world. What else is in there? Let's see. One of the fun things of Sam's was all the books that I found. And everybody thought I made up all the books. I did not make up the books. All the books in Sam's are real. And they started off kind of silly and funny, and then when we get to Grog Grotto, you'll see the most famous and most infamous book in Sam's collection. But Witness to Witchcraft was a must. And then I love the fact that there was actually a book called How to Abandon Ship. Some of these books just have cool titles. That book is literally about how to abandon a ship. I don't know why it's so long. I don't know why there's so many pages. I don't know why that's that hard, but it is literally about abandoning a ship. Let's see. We kind of spread some of the Indiana Jones lore, Adventureland lore around Enchanted Tiki Bar. The case over in the front has the map, which I think we'll get to. And then I made up like a fictitious Adventureland newspaper, and this talks about the tourists that are lost inside the temple. Another Indiana Jones thing that I wanted to do, it kind of stretch that lore out a little bit, was in that bulletin board is the voodoo doll from Temple of Doom. And I thought it'd be really fun if Short Round, under Indy's orders, gave it to Sam, because Sam was the only guy that Indy trusted to destroy it properly, where Indy wouldn't feel the effects of that destruction. So it's kind of a fun little thing. I think I wrote that letter out with my left hand. That's why it looks so beautifully childish. There's the map that Indy uses to find the Temple of the Forbidden Eye, which is in the pre-show footage. When I wanted to put this in there, just because it's so cool, it's only ever been in Indy's office in the attraction. And you kind of pass by it really quick, and it's upside down. And I was like, it's such a beautiful piece that Chuck Ballou did. He also invented Maraglyphics, the language of the attraction. And we couldn't find the artwork for it. Nobody knew where the artwork for it was. And we tracked it down. It was made as a prop for that pre-show video. So Indy unrolls it, and he lowers it, and you see the temple. And it was made for a prop for that shoot, and then they took screws and bolted it into the desk in the queue. So one of my "it belongs in a museum" attempts was, I got permission to go in. I took it out of Indy's office. We took it back to our WDI archives. We did high-resolution scans. I made 2 of them. I put one back in Indy's office, one in Sam's, and the original is now in the archives at WDI. And 20 years of being spit on and everything else was pretty disgusting. But we cleaned it up, and it's in good shape. So now you can sit there and actually read and decipher what the map says. Trader Sam's mask, I thought was a really cool piece. I needed a centerpiece above the bar, and we went through a few different things, and a couple of them, I think I built all of them and then decided on that and put the other ones elsewhere in the bar. But this was such a cool piece of Sam's history that not a lot of people knew about, And in true old historical fashion, nobody knew where that original mask was. Nobody knows. Probably at the bottom of the river. Who knows? So I had one made by a friend over at Disney Animation, who now has kind of made a name for himself as Whittleworks. If you guys have seen his hippos and his birds and his bears he does. So this was before any of that. I think I probably got him started on all that, but he carved that for me off of that photo. That was the only good photo we could find of that mask. So he went to work and carved it out of a solid piece of mahogany, and there it sits. So that was a cool piece. This was one of our Instagram requests, was to talk about this gorgeous piece of art on the left there. This is a piece that in the Enchanted Tiki Bar hangs right between the two restrooms, and in Grog Grotto we put it to the right of the bar. This is a piece done by Paul Hartley, who's over here with Walt. Paul did a lot of really great stuff. This was actually a promotional piece that he did to announce Tahitian Terrace and to kind of tie it in with what they were going to do over there. But Paul is really best known for all of his attraction posters. He's a madman. I mean, they're just gorgeous. And I love the fact that there was actually a attraction poster just for dining, which was really, really cool. But yeah, that's some good stuff. Speaking of crazy people and geniuses, Mary Blair's Polynesian pattern wallpaper that we ended up using as the Trader Sam's bathroom wallpaper in Anaheim started out as this color. That was Mary's original color, and then it was tweaked to be that and create the life of its own as it has become as Instagram selfie background #1. Is that the original wall? I don't know. Maybe. This was another piece that I had thought about making the centerpiece for above the bar, but this was actually a piece done by Sam McKim right there on the bottom. This was the original drawing for Trader Sam. And nobody really thought about it, and unfortunately there's not enough people still alive to answer my question, but I thought, I wonder if Trader Sam was named that after Sam McKim. Kind of coincidental. And I asked his son, and he'd never heard that story, and he knows a lot of stories about his dad, but he'd never heard that one. But that one was, the first piece of Sam done by Sam, so I'm going to say that's probably the case. But in our story, this is Trader Sam's grandfather, so we decided to put that up on the wall, and it's got a nice little plaque on it. And deeper into the story, if you're familiar with the backstory of the Tower of Terror in Tokyo, which is run by Harrison Hightower, who was this very eccentric collector, grave robber type of guy, somewhere near that painting in the bar is a letter from the head curator of the Hightower collection explaining that this piece was found in Hightower's collection and was then sent to Sam since it was relation to him, because that's how much free time I had doing this. It's called Deep Dive for a reason. Everybody recognizes that little piece of art by our good old friend Tiki Tony. This is how Tony and I met. There was a art show, a jungle/cannibal themed art show in Anaheim around the time that I was buying props for Enchanted Tiki Bar. And I walked in, and this one just made me giggle, and I just thought it was funny, and I said, yeah, I'm buying that one. And it just kind of captured the spirit and silliness of what I wanted to do with Sam's, and I think it captures that perfectly. And then by the time we got to Grotto, I've got Tiki Tony stuff spread all over the place, but I think that one kind of says it all. And then the Paradise Falls jar from Up was a nice little hidden thing in there. This is a fun crate that confuses a lot of people, including Disney executives. I did this crate, and I hung it from the ceiling, and everybody went, "What the hell are you doing? Why is there a W? What is happening right now?" This crate, does anybody want to take a guess at what this crate represents? Yeah. So back in the day in Florida, there was a place called the Adventurers Club. So this crate was my tribute to the Adventurers Club. So it is basically every member of the club sent Sam an item to look after while they went on an adventure. So we have the small Zeus right there in the middle, which was the main centerpiece of the foyer in the Adventurers Club, and I even gave him his tiny fishing pole. That fishing pole, the full-size fishing pole, is inside Trader Sam's, but I didn't have a photo of it. It showed up in my office one day wrapped in bubble wrap, and it's like 14 feet tall, and I was like, what the heck is this thing? And it was this giant fishing pole that mysteriously showed up outside my desk. We have Emil Bleehall's Scottish hat, because again, you know, it's free time I have to do. But the one that confuses everybody was the ventriloquist doll, and everybody just thought I was nuts. But that is Slappy, who was a friend of the Colonel, and again, confuses a lot of people, but if you know your history. The trick is, to explain it all, I put a letter on the side of the crate from Pamelia Perkins that explains what everything in the crate is. This is probably the only time you'll see this letter, because the crate is hanging from the ceiling. So I didn't really think that through completely. But it talks, you know, about Sam's, and Hathaway gave you this, and Colonel left you this, and we'll be back, but take care of our things while we're away. So, yeah, fun. Photos in Sam's were pretty cool. This one cracks me up. This is the last known photograph of the Archaeological Society's expedition to Trader Sam's. He claims to have no part in their disappearance. All of these photos I found are actually real photos, so that was kind of cool. And then we had a blast writing all the little captions. This is embarking from Harambe Village on safari, which was a tie-in to Disney's Animal Kingdom safari ride, and we actually there's a teeny tiny little Harambe Village logo on the basket on top of the elephant to really tie it in. What is this? Oh, this is Sam's opening day crew, which it says their heads above the rest. There they are. But, I'm sorry. I'll apologize now. This was the last known photograph of the Magdalena Maiden as it leaves the dock for the world-famous Jungle Cruise for a journey from down the darkest rivers of adventure. The Magdalena Maiden, I think, is the only Jungle Cruise boat in the fleet that actually sank in Disneyland history, and is also the life ring that we have hanging in Sam's that's covered in like mold and algae and all that silly stuff. But so that was a fun tie-in. If you drink too much, better call a taxi. I liked that one. That one always made me laugh because it's just so stupid. Another artist that I loved that I thought kind of fits with the silliness of Trader Sam's was Charles Addams, who created the Addams Family. And a lot of his artwork back from the 50s and 60s kind of had that tribal, adventure-y feel. So I found old magazines, we cut them out and we framed them up. But this one says, whatever the gods are, they aren't angry. And I was like, that's really cute. This one cracks me up. And it says, why, there's Carter now. And if we'll zoom in, there he is. It's like, it's perfect. It's so perfectly Trader Sam's. Sorry, I should have warned people about that. This is another Jungle Cruise tie-in. Does anybody know what this one, how this one ties to the Jungle Cruise? This one's deep. So on the front of the Jungle Cruise boat is the name Pat carved into the wood with a heart around it. That's Pat. That's messed up. So I was like, that's a fun, who is that? So we kind of went, that's too good. So yeah, give me a ring sometime. They don't get better. These were fun. These kind of kicked off. We originally knew we wanted to have photos of Trader Sam on his adventures, and I kind of came up with the idea of just photoshopping the animatronic into photos, like the traveling gnome, because it's just goofy and silly, and he always has the same look on his face, and it's just silly. This is the day we invited Stu, not visible, to family dinner. Every day I look at this, I don't look at this stuff every day, but every day when I think about Sam's, I go, my God, how did we get away with what we got away with? For those of you who don't get the joke, they're eating him, is the joke. Yeah, not appropriate. This is Trader Sam and his short boat, was the caption on this one. And again, a lot of these were from the Library of Congress, old actual photos. And then like for this one, I added the grass skirt, Sam's head and shoulders, and the stack of skulls in the canoe. Wham, bam, we got a cool, funny photo. We have Sam on vacation in Mexico over here. And we have Sam giving guys rides down the river. It was kind of endless of where can we stick silly, how it's just stupid, but it's so good. Here's Sam giving Walt and gang a tour around Central America. This photo cracks me up, but it makes sense. So Walt and the gang, this was during Saludos Amigos, Three Caballeros time, 1940s, Goodwill tour. And I was like, Sam, yeah, that's perfect. The thing that makes this photo the funniest, and I don't know if alcohol is the reason for this, but being in the bar and listening to people think that Walt actually signed it Saludo Sam, Walt. They think it's real. And I don't know if they've had too many to drink or what happened. But I will say a little secret that technically Walt did sign that. I had a large sampling of Walt's signature, and I literally cut out each letter and spelled Saludo Sam. So that is completely 100% Walt's handwriting. It might be too soon for these. I don't know. These were recently removed from Enchantique Bar. Don't blame me. I'm not there anymore. So the technical, I don't know. I don't have one. I know that much. I guess these were removed just for the fact that legally you have to say what the alcohol is that's coming out of the taps. Stupid California ruins everything. Never mind that they'd been there for 7 years. That wasn't the point of this slide, was to hate on California. The point of the slide was that they're really cool and they were fun. And originally they weren't supposed to all stay on with their eyes. They were supposed to come on when you ordered each beer. And I don't know if you guys remember the sound effect. If you ordered the light beer, it was a very light drumming. And if you ordered the dark heavy beer, it was very heavy drumming. Another little hidden tie-in in there is we were able to bring in some Pirates of the Caribbean, so Tia Dalma's necklace is in the bookcase. One of the main rules that we established early on was no animation, no animated characters in the bar, but live action was full. We could do whatever we wanted. So then it was, okay, well, what characters could have been in that world with Sam? And Jack was obviously an easy one. Jack obviously also wears a shrunken head on his belt at World's End, which is his mother's shrunken head. So naturally, it seemed like a perfect fit to put Sam's mother's shrunken head or Jack's mom's head inside Trader Sam's. So wrote a little letter and said, what does it say? Rum is on you, heads are on me, take care of Mom. She always enjoyed hanging out around your pub, Captain Jack Sparrow. So that one's silly. And then there's also a picture of Sam and Jack in the bar as well. Another little tie-in back to Harper Goff. Harper, aside from minor things like designing the Nautilus and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Willy Wonka and all that, Harper was also part of the Firehouse 5+2, which was the kind of inside Disney band, which was Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson, and Harper played banjo, so it was kind of made sense to do a little banjo homage there. And then Harper's window in Adventureland is also about banjo lessons, so that made sense. This is my oh my God, what have I done photo late at night, sitting there just thinking about where am I going to put that dive helmet and what am I going to do with all that rope and all that stuff. So that was Anaheim. And then when we got to Florida, we decided, thankfully, they allowed us to kind of not do the same story again. We always kind of treated it as an Indiana Jones, where it was Trader Sam's and the next adventure. So for Florida, we did Grog Grotto, and it takes place in a later time period. It's more 50s to 70s. Everything's kind of Technicolor. Everything's much brighter. There's maybe one black and white photo on the wall. Everything else is colored or poorly colorized. There are still about 1,500 individual items inside Grog Grotto. Plenty of stuff. How many people have been to Grog Grotto? A few. There we go. One of the cool things we did, and you can see them in these photos, the one right there, on property in the 70s, that's George Snowden sculpting, not carving, but sculpting the tiki totems that lived in Tangaroa Terrace, which was a buffet-style dining at the Polynesian. When we started working on Sam's, we walked by and saw that all of those totems were still inside there. So we took a Sawzall and ran over there really quick. And if you go in there now today, there's holes in the carpet from where all the totems, we just and got them out of there. We had to test them for lead paint. It's the 70s. But they're all lead-free, which the beautiful thing in that is we didn't have to repaint them. We just cleaned them off. We re-clear coated, so they are completely the original 1971 totems. 74, I think. Is there operatic lessons next door? What is happening out there? It's I'll just say this now. I have a history of doing that to myself. Where I'll just ask a question and the answer is really horrible and ruins my whole day. And if you come to the book signing, I'll tell you some other ones because again, I have a history of doing that to myself. I don't even know where to begin. Look, tiki stuff. The only one God. This day took a turn. Tiki on the left, tiki on the right. What was I talking about? So that's George. George is sculpting those, so you can see that that's the same carving on the left. And there it is on the right. The ones behind the bar are the only ones we actually did add some paint to. We added some blacklight paint, so the squid pops a little more, and we did some different things. The 20,000 Leagues dive helmet. So we had the Ship in the Bottle in Anaheim, and which came from the Adventurers Club. And really, the only thing we could salvage out of that was the bottle. The boat was 30 years old, and that poor little thing had seen more shipwrecks than it knew what to do with. So we built a new boat. Kevin and Jody built the Wicked Winch from Pirates of the Caribbean for that. And we thought, okay, but I always said, I don't really want to bring that back to Florida because it came from Florida. And people are still angry about the Adventurers Club. So I don't want to remind them about the Adventurers Club. So we need something new. So my project manager and I both went at it, and I said, I got a guy to build this helmet. He's the leading 20,000 Leagues expert. And he's like, I don't know. I got a guy that really knows his stuff. And we thought about it for about a week and a half and then realized we had the same guy. So our helmet, this is Rich Alsmiller and Tom Alsmiller, his son. And Tom is Typhoon Tommy, who is part of my book with me. But they both dove in and built an absolutely beautiful replica of that original 20K helmet. It's so great. So that sits behind our bar, and when you order the Nautilus drink, it starts to bubble, and it's the first effect in a series of effects with the Nautilus drink, which then goes to the blacklight painting, which then goes to the squid arm moving around, and goes absolutely crazy. But yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful helmet. Another 20K reference that I just was so excited to build was Ned's turtle shell guitar. And this was the only photo we had that was really decent enough of it to use. Nobody knew where the original was. No idea. Probably could have deteriorated. Who knows? So I had that built off of that one photo, and it is way high up in the rafters in Grog Grotto behind the bar. But it's I put it up there really high because everybody said that was the one thing they wanted to steal when we were installing. So it's really up there. This is the Nautilus blacklight painting that we recreated, or actually created. This is all original art just for Grog Grotto, and we tried to make it more reminiscent of the attraction that was across the lagoon rather than the film. And then it's a daylight painting, and then when you order the Nautilus drink, the black lights kick on, and it turns it into that beautiful piece. This was another really cool piece. I found this in San Francisco at a swap meet. This is actually from a culinary school in Monterey. And I was like, great, I'll take it. But we just touched up his eyes a little bit, and that's the way he was. But the dome is actually covered in sand, which is crazy. But I love that. I should have kept that. That's too good. Why did I install that? All of our other light fixtures, of course, came from Oceanic Arts. Where else are you going to get really awesome? I mean, there's a lot of guys now doing amazing light fixtures, but at the time, Oceanic was definitely on board and was kind enough to give us some light fixtures that they hadn't made since like the 70s, that Bob and Leroy had just hanging up in the rafters that they pulled down for us. One of the things we wanted to do at Grog Grotto was also focus in on Florida history, Florida tiki history. And so Weeki Wachee, obviously, you've got Marineland, obviously the Mai Kai, and then Aku Tiki over on Daytona on the beach. Another little hidden thing is the South Seas Club menu from the Rocketeer. That seemed like a fun little hidden Easter egg that would belong in there. And then this photo of Walt, which came from 20,000 Leagues Time. And again, here we go again. I don't know if it's because alcohol is involved, but people have sat there and think, wow, that's really cool. Walt's holding that squid arm that's right over there. And you're going, oh, no, guys, that's not the same. But it's all right. And then it didn't help that I colorized it to match the one on the wall, but it's neither here nor there. Smaller bookcase in Grog Grotto, but very, very funny stuff in there. That thing on the top right, I swear is cursed. That thing was the most demonic little gremlin, goblin-looking native thing, little claw thing. It was creepy, but so naturally put it in. This doesn't even need setup. That's just it. It is a real book. Unlike How to Abandon Ship, the inside of this has nothing to do with eating people and is very disappointing. But that cover is beautiful and so wonderful. And when I bought that, I think I probably paid like $15. And now that I did that and put it in this case, they now go for about $200 to $300 if you can find them. They are insanely rare to find on eBay. You can find the book, but to find them with that cover has now become a huge thing. It's about like economics and stuff. Like it's really, really misleading. Like you would buy that and go, oh, I got to know why, and then nope, completely changed the subject at all. Or yeah, it's weird. It's very weird. Does anybody? This is the audience participation part of our show. Does anybody know what this guy's from? Shout them out. Just throw out ideas. No, there's no bad well, there are bad answers, but oh. Who said that? Pete's Dragon. So going into a later time period with our story, I was looking at live-action Disney films from 60s and 70s, and it just was so beautifully obvious to put Lampy in there as a wooden carved sailor. So I went back to Jeremy, who did our Trader Sam's mask, and I said, I need you to carve Mickey Rooney as a wooden sailor. And he said, you got it. And what you can't see here is he's actually, because Mickey's a small guy, and we knew we wanted him to be smaller in relation to the actual wooden sailors that we had. So he's actually small, but he's standing on a rum barrel. And then in the rum barrel it says Lampy, and that's kind of the outfit he wears in the I Saw a Dragon, I Swear I Saw a Dragon number. What about this one? This one's tricky. More modern. Anybody? We don't have to be this quiet. You can talk amongst yourselves if you have to work it out. This is actually Kate's plane from Lost. It's really deep. Really deep. That one just seemed like a funny one to just really go over everybody's head all the time. So yeah, I don't really know if anybody's ever looked at that and went, oh man, that's from Lost. Yeah, I don't think that's ever happened. But it's there. It's fun. This shelf is kind of funny. So this is a couple different things in there, but one of them, that's the hat I wore at the first Halloween, which is just silly. But more importantly, there's a little compass in the middle, which is Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Band. Does anybody know why I put that in there? Yep. Yep, John Lennon signed the breakup contract at the Polynesian. So, oh. I mean, it is sad, but, you know. Yeah, so that's really hidden up in there, and it would have been very different if I had to build a bar at the Contemporary and put Richard Nixon hidden stuff. That would have been really weird. Another deep dive here, and looking at this stuff, I go, man, we were either really bored or really on top of it. So this was the original Trader Sam's shirt, which we chose that color palette because it matched the original floor of the Polynesian lobby. We were some dorky guys doing all this. Let me tell you, this was some good stuff. Well, I think we're coming close to the end. Yeah, there it is. Blatant self-promotion here for those of you who don't have a copy. We have copies of the Field Guide to Tiki Decorating out at our Tiki Tony B.G. Reynolds booth. I put this together as kind of a how-to for people who are building their own tiki bars, backyard bars, professional bars, whatever type of bar you're interested in building, and it kind of tells some stories about Trader Sam's and kind of things that I thought of through that process. But and then Tony did all of our artwork, and then Typhoon Tommy did our tutorials. So it's been a lot of fun watching what people have built and sent in photos on Instagram, and it's been really cool. So there we go. Any questions that I didn't cover? Thank you. You know, I don't know. The day we first found out that, we went, why? Because Californians are alcoholics. No. Easy. Security. We never really got an actual answer on that because, Anaheim opens at 11 and Grotto opens at 4. Let me repeat the question as to why. Thank you. Says the guy who turned all the lights at a presentation. I feel sorry for whoever's on Keith's bus tomorrow. Good luck. Well, Ray was obviously impressed by this. So do I, but you don't see me running off. The question was, why does Grog Grotto not open as early as Anaheim? We never got I think it kind of, and could just be making this up, was that the majority of people in Anaheim are locals that go to Enchanted Tiki Bar. The majority of people at Grog Grotto are there for once-in-a-lifetime Disney vacations, and at 11 o'clock in the morning, they're riding Big Thunder Mountain. Yeah. There's no long beans. Yeah, it could be because of that as well. But I think that was kind of the mentality, was that in Florida it's a different clientele. You know, Anaheim's with the spieling and the jokes and everything kind of is a little, they still do it, but it's a little calmer. And Grog Grotto is loud, over the top, insane, because that's the one time that guest will go. You know, so they get the full blunt of it when they go to Grog Grotto. But yeah, that would be my guess if I had to guess, because we never got an actual answer. And Anaheim has the pool bar, which makes the drinks Sam's makes the drinks for the pool bar. So again, alcoholics running everything apparently. Hold on, Bill, I'll get right to you. I am not, because I work for Universal now. Everybody calm down. My last Disney project was Avatar. I did all the props for Pandora, and during that time, I got married and went, okay, I'm going to stay in Florida now. And at that time, all of the upcoming work was fully staffed. So I said, okay, no problem. Bounced over to Universal, so I'm doing a park for them there. But everybody in Orlando kind of just back and forth. So we shall see. But I know that Tropical Hideaway will probably be pretty darn cool. And then the Adventureland Club 33 that's coming as well will be exciting. And Adventureland in Orlando just got new tiki totems too, which are really nice. Which I was trying to figure out where those came from, if they were old originals or new, because they look great. But those are really good. How are we doing on time? Okay. I'm on the next panel, so I guess it really doesn't matter. I'll get to you in a second. Bill, what do you got for us? I was. So yeah, so we would have, it was really funny. So here's the funny part. So my cohort in all of this, Kyle Barnes, we would go to meetings, and they'd lay out the drinks. I don't drink at all. So I would just sit there and I would look at them. But I can tell, it's funny, going through all the training and doing 7 years of 2 tiki bars, I can tell you what's going to be a good drink just by looking at them. And I know that that's going to be a good Mai Tai. So we would go to the meetings, he would drink them, and then he would tell me what they all were, and then I would just come up with names and stories for him. We did that when they introduced the Murky Mojito, and we made it all the leaves, the mint leaves in it, and it just looked like, gross jungle water. And I was like, oh, looks a little murky. Oh, I'll write that down. But yeah, we came up with all those originally in the backstories and all of that. We had our original show writer was Kevin Rafferty, who's a great show writer. He's been there for probably 40 years. He was getting really busy on Cars Land at the time. So he knew my background as a Jungle Cruise skipper and all of that. So I would bug him, and he'd go, I don't have time. And I'd go, all right, I'm going to write stuff, and then I'll send it to you. You buy off on it, send it back. We did that for maybe a month, and he goes, I don't have time to even buy off on what you write. Just write it. Okay. So the big backstory that's in the bar, and then I would send stuff to Kyle all day long, and our offices were about 20 feet from each other, so I got my steps in, just going back and forth. And here, what do you want to, this blog post, what do you think of this, and all that. So yeah, it was literally for, I think over 7 years, 8 years at WDI, I did about 50 projects, but for all of those 8 years, I was always working on Sam's at some given time, whether it was a Parks blog post, whether it was a new drink, whether it was a second location, it was always, oh, I got to work on the Matterhorn, and I'm sitting up there writing, stuff for Sam. So, always Sam's.
Can you talk about the windows, the Sam's windows, the projected, or how are they done? The technicality?
Magically.
And I read it. And the alcohol.
Yeah. First off, yeah, it's not real. I can't really, just because I wasn't really there for a lot of that. I remember going to our first mock-ups and seeing originally, and we had started out with originally they were going to be like the Enchantiki room windows in Orlando with the plastic, and all that, and look really cool. And then we got into the projections, but they're still one of those things I look at and I go, how the heck in that much room does this work? And it's still one of those nice magical things. There's still those things where I go, I don't want to know. Because it's like, they look really cool. I forget. I had one the other day where it was like, I don't want to know how that works. I'm good with, it being a magical thing. But yeah, because I think the windows are about only that deep. So it's. Any other question? Yes. The best story of, oh dear God, we're all going to get fired. We were programming the lighting in Orlando. So in Orlando, we have a lot. In Grog Grotto, we got away with a lot more because Anaheim was a success. We had tried to do stuff in Anaheim, and they were like, just serve drinks. Let's not get too crazy. And we're like, but we want to do this. We want our own napkin. Use Disney Parks napkins. When you do a second location, you get your own napkins. And we were programming the lighting, and we had, so in Orlando, the Shrunken Zombie Head has a special effect. It doesn't have one in Anaheim. The Hippopotami Tai has a special effect. It doesn't have one in Anaheim. So the Hippopotami Tai special effect in Grog Grotto is the sounds of hippos. It's called a wheeze cough. And it's that, yeah, there we go. This guy knows it really well. So it does that, and it gets going. And then there's 2 gunshots, as in the Jungle Cruise, right? There's 2 gunshots. So I'm in there late one night, which, what bad things happen when you're in a bar late at 4 a.m. and you've been working 22 hours. And I go, hey, when all the lights go green, it becomes very jungly. And I said, on the gunshots, let's do a muzzle blast. So the lights just go like red and yellow, gunshot blast. And we were all exhausted. We're like, that's really funny, but God, that's offensive. We really probably shouldn't. It's a little different in Orlando when you have Animal Kingdom right up the road. So you don't want to, you got to behave. So we did it, and we left it in there, and we kind of forgot it was in there. And then our executives came through, and they were like, oh, let's run some of the lighting cues. And we all went, oh, dear God. Oh, dear God. Do we have to run them all? Yeah, run all of them. Oh, God. And we ran the hippo, and it started wheezing and coughing, and the guns went off, and everybody went, oh, that looks great, and walked out. And we were like... So to this day, I still, whenever anybody orders that one, I go, my God, that could have gone so wrong. Like, it just could have gone so horribly wrong. Because it's kind of... And now that I say it, they'll watch Blair's webcast and go, we need to take that out of there. That's offensive. That's more offensive than the beer tabs. I didn't say that. Yes? It's enough out of you, sir. I got the Lex panel's mine, too. We could just, all day. Yes. Very good. My favorite drink on the menu is just straight Gorilla Grog, which is not on the menu, but I guess it's technically on the menu, but it's not on the menu. Gorilla Grog is an ingredient, a juice that they put in all the drinks, but I just drink that straight. When we were doing all of our testing, all the bartenders' favorite story is I would come up at the end of the night, and they make the Gorilla Grog fresh every other day or so, and then they dump it out, and they would come up and they would hand me just a jug that big and one of the big a Nautilus straws and be like, there you go. And I would just sit at the bar and just chug that whole thing, which I don't recommend. It doesn't go too well, but it's really good stuff. The sinking bar stools were left over from the Adventurers Club. The bar stools in the Adventurers Club used to sink, and they're not the same bar stools, but it was that concept. So we built all new bar stools and got them going. And the trick was to really try to make it obvious which ones weren't. So by the time we got to Grog Grotto, we had painted scratch marks in all of the bar stools, because in Anaheim you're like, oh, well, that one's beat to crap. That one sinks, obviously. That one, the bamboo's falling apart, because you could tell which ones really took the beating. So in Grog Grotto, we made them all look like that. We just trashed all of them and painted literally scratch marks up and down all of the columns and all of that, so you wouldn't catch on. And even now, I think some people still go, which ones are the ones that sink? You'll find out. I'm looking at you. You good? All right. Keith says, He's got to have time to fix his hair before the next show. All right, thank you, everybody. Available upstairs now. So everybody go get back in line, come back in, and then,
Lovely hula hands.
If whoever wants to watch the next one, which is Tiki Tony, Ron Farrell, and I talking about home tiki bars, just stay in your seats. If you want to get up, go to the bathroom, come back. Go up and get a drink, come back, whatever you like.
Using that again.
Probably. Is that okay? Or you need it right in?
No,
Yes.
we're gonna
Yes.
have to plug it in though.
Oh, good point.
So I think the USB on the other side too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. See, here's the problem. Your big fat ass.
Well, here, I can take this out and drop it onto your...
Yeah. So let's do
Let's do
that. I'll grab my plug. I'll hit you do the
My
presentation and be like, and power.
And my beaver tail over here.
Right, we'll grab my plug.
How are you?
Stand in one of the sinking chairs.
Oh, all the time.
I have one of our homes. We'll usually go sit in the chair with the bartender. So my chair's sinking, so I would right,
Right?